I think it's fair to say that yesterday Bond fandom was shocked to the core with the announcement that Amazon MGM had reached an agreement with Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson to take over the creative rights to the James Bond franchise. As far as we can tell, because we don't know the structure of the deal, that removes Eon from the Bond franchise pretty much completely, although they will still retain rights to the character. So it's the end of an era, because the creative rights to Bond were originally held by Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman. Harry Saltzman sold his half of the rights to United Artists, which ended up with MGM and now Amazon MGM. But Broccoli, the Broccolis always retained the creative rights. They had the final say on all the creative decisions, which is, pretty important. Although technically they had a say in all the creative decisions, though, with United Artists and later MGM holding the purse strings, I say that they had some influence on those decisions too, but the money talks. So in this video, what I wanted to do was really look at what this change is going to mean to the James Bond franchise, what it means to us as fans. And I think, I've got a whole host of questions. At the moment, there are far more questions than there are answers. And I don't know the answer to many of them, but I just wanted to raise three big questions, I think, and do my best to answer them and make some guesses along the way as to what we might expect. And I guess the first thing is, what does Amazon's creative control really mean for Bond? Well, what it really means is that Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli will no longer be involved in script development and producing and any day-to-day work on the Bond films. Barbara Broccoli will work on her own projects from the statement that was put out. Michael G. Wilson's 83 now, and he wants to retire, and who can blame him? And, I know some fans are unhappy at Barbara Broccoli for selling up, but, at the end of the day, why not? She's a creative woman. She wants to do her own thing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Cinema is in a state of flux at the moment, and maybe she didn't feel capable of tackling the next iteration of Bond on her own, especially with her half-brother Michael out of the picture. So she probably felt, because they had worked well as a team, she needed another half of the team to work with. And, I don't know, maybe Greg Wilson wasn't up to it, or maybe he didn't want to do it. Maybe his interests lie elsewhere too. So it's difficult to know exactly why. It's clear that she wasn't happy with the direction that Amazon were taking things. And I said yesterday I recorded a podcast with a couple of colleagues, as it's the 007 files, and she may have had a plan A and a plan B. Plan A didn't work, so this is plan B, or maybe this was plan A all along. Who knows? Maybe she'll tell us her side of the story, or a version of it at some stage. They will still have they will still own their share of the character, but they won't have any creative input. So basically, they get paid for any films that Amazon makes. So that sounds like quite a good business deal to me. I had suggested that maybe they would sell up. I wasn't really envisaging this. I thought they would, if they did take that option, they would sell up completely. But this didn't cross my mind. So, I think it's a good deal. Bond films continue to be made, and hopefully at a faster rate than they have lately. They get paid. So it's good for them, even though it doesn't really make that much difference in a positive respect to Bond fans. Amazon will be in charge of all the creative decisions. So, big question there, who will be in charge? And, I think one of the things about the partnership as it has worked in the past was when Bond went into one of its excessive periods of, say, Moonraker or Die Another Day, there was always a pull back to more the core of Bond. And Barbara Broccoli used to talk about Cubby saying that what if in doubt, return to Fleming. And we don't know who's going to be in charge. We don't know how much knowledge they have of Bond and whether they will take that or want to push Bond in a completely new direction. Whether, basically Bond as we have seen him to date will be jettisoned. We can't expect any kind of continuity from the Eon series in a storyline sense, because Bond was killed in the last film, so there has to be some kind of jettison of that. They need to reboot or just ignore it. But how much will an Amazon Bond film feel like an Eon Bond film? I think that is a question, and the whole style of the films might change. There's one thing which is quite amusing to me anyway. There were a lot of people complaining that Barbara Broccoli had made Bond too woke. Now, I've had a load of emails from people saying that Amazon will make Bond go woke. So, people, make up your mind. Was it Barbara Broccoli or is it going to be Amazon? So, I don't know. What else is there with the creative control? Will Bond lose any of his Britishness? Bond has to be British. I think Barbara Broccoli always said so. Although with her gone, I guess they could do something fairly radical with Bond. Hopefully not. Okay. So a lot of questions, more questions there than actual answers, and so there's not much we can do there. But maybe we will get some answers from Amazon soon. Maybe they'll make some announcements about what they're planning to do with Bond 26. That would be a good thing. Question 2. This relates to the talent behind the Bond films, because Eon was essentially a cottage industry in some respects, small business, and it developed an incredible pool of talent behind the scenes. And I've got a big question about what happens to all that talent. Is Amazon going to keep on, or are they going to use their own people or bring new people in? It's and that ranges from lots of things. I mean, there's Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, the writers. Probably Amazon will not continue with them, I would say. But what about bringing back David Arnold? He was involved with the 007 Road to a Million, for example. So, even though he hasn't done a Bond film since 2008, he is still the house composer in many respects. So will he be on board for Bond 26 and into the future? I think I would really like him to come back, because I think his work is really Bond-like to me, in a way that what's his name, Thomas Newman and Hans Zimmer just missed. So that's one thing. But then there are all the there's all the stunt team and the effects team, and there's the costumes. And although with the costume design, the costume design has changed frequently. Production design and set building, and the whole infrastructure at Pinewood. In some ways, we could say that Bond's association with Pinewood may have been ending anyway, because Pinewood is given over to Disney these days. So, and I don't know what spare capacity they might have, and whether they would want to fit Bond in. So it was likely that Bond was going to have to move elsewhere anyway. So there are all these kinds of questions. Or are all these long time Bond crew going to be working on Bond 26? Chris Corwald, for example, it's just people like that. And I have no idea. If they are involved, I would say that it is a good thing for a couple of reasons, because they would bring some kind of continuity to the Amazon MGM version of Bond. And that might make it feel a bit more like an Eon Bond, for good or for bad, whatever you thought of No Time to Die. The third question I have is about the release. What is Amazon's release strategy going to be? Now, I suspect that Bond 26 is going to move into production sooner rather than later. I think we can now expect some announcements this year. When they happen, I don't know. It could be this week, next week. Well, there's not much of this week left. Next week or next month, I don't know. But I think we can expect something in the coming months. Then after that, what is going to happen with the Bond films? Are they going to commit to a theatrical release? Are they going to have some kind of other release strategy where it's on streaming, a hybrid release where it's on streaming and the big screen? Or this, we just can't know at the moment. Maybe they'll announce that. Maybe they haven't decided it. It's that's another one. And once they've done Bond 26, when can we expect Bond 27? Are we going to get a new Bond film every 2 years or every 3 years? Every 3 years would do pretty well. I wish we could go back to every 2 years, but I think they are likely to become more frequent releases, which I think is a great thing for us, as long as they do a good job with the films. And what else? Okay, yes, I think the other thing that we've got to ask about the release strategy is there going to be an expanded Bond universe? Are they going, or potentially could there be a mixture of, full films with cinematic release, and maybe shorter adventures, a bit like the short stories that Ian Fleming wrote, which were, some of them were originally written as television treatments, and perhaps there could be half-hour episode Bond films with the same actor who does the big screen Bonds. I don't know. There could be, I don't know, Felix Leiter spin-offs, Moneypenny spin-offs, M spin-offs, Q spin-offs. Who knows? I'm not excited about any of that. I'm not really interested. Something like, looking at the locations of Bond, that would be more interesting, or some really in-depth documentaries. That might be interesting. It would be interesting to me. Maybe that would be interesting to other Bond fans. I don't know. At the moment, it's we don't know the full details of the deal. It hasn't actually been signed yet, as far as I can read it. The announcement said they are coming to a deal, or words to that effect, or would come to a deal. So there are lots of questions, no solid answers. We just know that we are entering a new era, but I think that it is pretty clear that in many respects of our lives, that is happening at the moment. Anyway, so I would love to hear your feedback on what is happening, and if you've got any questions that you would like to have answered, then drop them in the comments, because either I'll answer them on another video, or we can do it on a podcast on the 007 Files. So that's it, and thank you for watching. See you soon.